Hello, and welcome in my little corner of the internet. My name is Jess, and here we read all kinds of stories. Some are true stories, some fiction, and some true stories that we sometimes wish were fiction. We do them all. So if you're into intriguing, dark, and scary tales, it's time to kick back, chill, and relax. If you're new here, welcome. Stay a bit, see if you like it. We'd love to have you. The Silver Wolf Queen. Chapter 4. The Awakening. The heartbeat echoed through Ivy's soul. Slow, powerful, ancient. Every pulse sent a strange vibration through her body. The sensation wasn't painful, yet it wasn't comfortable either. It felt like standing beside a sleeping giant and suddenly realizing it was beginning to wake up. The chamber remained silent. Every elder stared at her. Every silver wolf watched with anticipation. Ivy looked between them nervously. What is happening? No one answered immediately, because before anyone could speak, another pulse rolled through her chest. Stronger this time. The stone floor beneath her feet trembled ever so slightly. Several nearby crystals flickered and a low murmur spread through the room. Orion's golden eyes narrowed, not in concern, but in recognition. After all these years, she still lives. His voice carried something Ivy had never heard before. Emotion. The heartbeat came again. The pulse spread outward through the chamber like a ripple moving across water. Several elders immediately lowered their heads. Celine's eyes filled with tears. Ivy's confusion only grew. Would somebody please explain what is happening? Nervous smiles appeared around the room. Celine wiped her eyes. It's your wolf. Ivy frowned. My wolf? The elder nodded. The one you've spent 20 years searching for. The words struck deep. Every full moon, every failed attempt, every cruel joke, every humiliation. All because she didn't have a wolf. Or so she thought. The heartbeat echoed again. This time Ivy physically felt it. A deep vibration rolled through her chest. Powerful, alive and real. Very real. Her eyes widened. But how could this be? Orion stepped closer. You never lacked a wolf, child. The giant silver wolf's voice echoed gently inside her thoughts. Your wolf was simply sleeping. A strange chill raced through Ivy's body. Sleeping? For 20 years? That wasn't possible, was it? Then again, giant telepathic wolves hadn't seemed possible either. Her standards for impossible had changed dramatically over the last 24 hours. Celine approached slowly. Most wolves begin hearing their inner wolf as children. Ivy nodded. She knew that much. The bond grows stronger over time. Another nod. Eventually they shift. The elders smiled softly. But your wolf is different. The room seemed to darken slightly. Not physically, but emotionally. As though everyone understood the significance of what came next. Ivy's stomach tightened. Different how? No one spoke. The hesitation made her nervous, very nervous. Finally, Orion answered. Because your wolf is not merely a wolf. The heartbeat thundered again. A burst of silver light briefly flickered beneath Ivy's skin. Several elders gasped and Ivy stumbled backward. What was that? Nobody answered. Because everyone was staring at her hands. Silver markings had appeared across her skin. Thin glowing lines. Beautiful. Ancient. The markings shimmered for only a moment before fading. Then they vanished completely. The chamber erupted into excited whispers. Celine looked utterly stunned. Impossible. The elder shook her head. No silver wolf has ever manifested markings during the awakening. Not in recorded history. The excitement in the room suddenly became palpable. Ivy wasn't sure whether she should be encouraged or terrified. Possibly both. A strange pressure built inside her chest. The sensation intensified with every passing second, like a storm gathering strength. Orion immediately noticed. Enough. The giant wolf rose to his full height. She needs space. The elders reluctantly stepped back, though not very far. Curiosity clearly outweighed personal boundaries. A deeply human problem, and apparently silver wolves suffered from it too. Another pulse shook her body. This one hurt. Ivy gasped. Pain shot through her chest. Not sharp pain. Pressure. Intense pressure. Like something enormous was trying to force its way free. Fear flashed through her. What if something goes wrong? Celine's expression softened. My dear. The elders smiled gently. Something is finally going right. The words settled deep inside Ivy. For 20 years, everything had gone wrong. Maybe she deserved one thing going right. Maybe. Just maybe. The pressure continued building, and somewhere in the darkness of her mind, something stirred. Watching. Waiting. The training grounds sat beyond the valley's eastern edge. A massive clearing surrounded by towering cliffs and ancient trees. By sunrise the next morning, nearly the entire settlement had gathered there. Word of Ivy's awakening had spread quickly. Far too quickly, and the attention made her uncomfortable. She preferred being ignored. Being watched by hundreds of curious wolves was considerably worse. Orion stood beside her. The giant wolf looked far more serious than usual. Today we learn the truth. Ivy glanced toward him. The truth about what? Your wolf, he said calmly. The answer did little to calm her nerves. Across the clearing, dozens of warriors waited. Silver wolf warriors. The elite protectors of the hidden valley. Each one carried an aura of confidence. Of strength, of experience. Ivy felt very out of place. One warrior woman smiled kindly. Don't worry, dear, you will be fine. Ivy raised an eyebrow. I'm standing in front of hundreds of people who think I'm some kind of lost queen. The woman laughed. Fair point. At least someone was honest. Celine stepped into the center of the clearing. The awakening ritual will begin shortly, and a murmur swept through the crowd. Ivy immediately disliked the phrase, awakening ritual. In stories, rituals rarely ended pleasantly. Usually someone exploded, or became possessed, or accidentally summoned something horrifying. The fact that everyone else seemed excited was not reassuring. The elders arranged themselves around a circular stone platform. Ancient runes covered its surface. The same symbols Ivy had seen throughout the settlement. The symbols that somehow felt familiar, as though she should already know them. Then, Celine gestured toward the center. Ivy sighed. Why do I feel like this is a bad idea? No one answered, and somehow that was answer enough. Reluctantly, she stepped onto the platform. The moment her foot touched the stone, the runes began glowing. A collective gasp spread through the crowd and Ivy froze. The symbols illuminated one by one. Silver light raced across the platform, and the entire clearing vibrated. Then suddenly, the heartbeat returned. Boom. Stronger than ever. The sound echoed through her soul. Boom. Again. Boom. Again. Each pulse grew louder. Closer. More powerful. The pressure inside her chest became unbearable. Ivy dropped to one knee as pain exploded through her body. Not injury. Transformation. Something was changing. Something fundamental. The crowd vanished. The clearing vanished. The world vanished. Darkness swallowed everything. For one terrifying moment, Ivy thought she had lost consciousness, but then she realized she was standing. Standing in a place that didn't exist. A silver mist stretched endlessly around her as stars filled the sky above her, and beneath her feet lay an endless mirror-like surface reflecting moonlight. The realm felt dreamlike, ancient, sacred. Then she realized she wasn't alone. Someone stood waiting. A woman. Tall, powerful, beautiful. Silver hair flowed around her shoulders and her eyes glowed like moonlight itself. Recognition struck instantly. Not because Ivy had met her before, but because she had seen the mural. The woman smiled. Tears immediately filled Ivy's eyes. This can't be. The woman stepped closer. Hello, my precious little moon. The voice broke her completely. Because somehow she knew exactly who was standing before her. That was none other than her mother. For a long moment, Ivy couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. She simply stood there staring. The woman before her smiled gently. The same smile from the mural. The same eyes. The same warmth. And somehow, despite never meeting her, Ivy knew. She knew with absolute certainty. The knowledge settled deep within her soul. Mom? The word came out as barely a whisper. Queen Lyra's eyes immediately filled with tears. The woman nodded. My little moon. That was all it took. 20 years of loneliness shattered, of unanswered questions, of wondering why she had been abandoned, why she was never good enough. Gone. Ivy crossed the distance between them in seconds. The moment Lyra wrapped her arms around her, the dam finally broke. She cried. Not graceful tears. Not quiet tears. The ugly kind. The painful kind. The tears of a little girl who had spent her entire life pretending she didn't care. Lyra simply held her, one hand gently stroking her hair. Patient. Loving. Present. Something Ivy had never experienced before. Eventually, the tears slowed, then stopped, though Ivy still refused to let go, partly because she feared her mother might disappear. Lyra smiled softly. I've wanted this moment for a very long time. Ivy swallowed. Are you real? The question sounded ridiculous, yet she needed to ask. Lyra chuckled. A little. Helpful. Very helpful. Clearly sarcasm existed even beyond death. Good to know. The queen stepped back slightly. Not enough to break contact. Just enough to look at her daughter. The pride in her eyes was impossible to miss. You've grown into a remarkable young woman. Ivy snorted. Most people would disagree. A flash of sadness crossed Lyra's face. I know. The simple response surprised her. You know? I've watched. Ivy froze. Lyra gently touched her cheek. I couldn't speak. The queen's voice trembled. I couldn't interfere. Tears filled her eyes. But I watched. A painful silence followed. The realization hit hard. Her mother had seen everything. The loneliness. The cruelty. The rejection. Every terrible moment. And had been powerless to stop it. For the first time, Ivy wondered whether that had hurt Lyra even more than it hurt her. The queen took a slow breath. But you're here now. Something about those words carried deeper meaning, and Ivy noticed immediately. What does that mean? Lyra's expression became serious. Very serious. The dreamlike landscape around them seemed to darken. Moonlight shimmered across the endless silver mist, and suddenly Ivy remembered why she was here. The awakening. the heartbeat, the wolf. Lyra noticed the shift. You're beginning to understand. I don't understand anything. That earned a small smile. Fair enough. The queen turned toward the silver horizon. You think your story began when Kane rejected you. The name immediately caused pain. Not as much as before, but enough. Lyra continued. It didn't. The silver mist shifted. Images appeared around them. Living memories. A burning city with towering silver walls. Warriors fighting beneath moonlit skies. Thousands of wolves. An entire kingdom. Ivy stared in shock. The images felt real. Too real. This was our home. Lyra's voice carried quiet sadness. The vision expanded. Families, children, markets, celebrations, life, an entire civilization thriving. Then the scene changed. Fire, blood, screams. The city burned. Warriors fell. Walls collapsed. The nightmare unfolded before Ivy's eyes. The final days of the Silver Wolf Kingdom. The betrayal. The words felt heavy. Ancient. Painful. Lyra nodded. The packs feared us. Images flashed around them. Rival alphas. War councils. Secret alliances. Fear. Jealousy. Greed. Everything Celine had described. Only now, Ivy could see it. Could feel it. The queen turned back toward her. But this is not why you're here. The visions vanished. The Silver Realm returned. You are not merely the last silver wolf. The heartbeat thundered. The sound rolled through the sky itself. Lyra smiled. There she is. The pulse came again. Boom. Stronger. Closer. Something moved within the silver mist. Massive, ancient. Powerful. Ivy's breath caught. The fog slowly parted. A gigantic wolf emerged. Larger than Orion. Larger than any wolf Ivy had ever imagined. Ancient silver eyes glowed with impossible power. Every instinct inside Ivy screamed. Not in fear. In recognition. The wolf stopped before her. The world seemed smaller in its presence. The creature lowered its enormous head, studying her, waiting, watching. The heartbeat echoed again. Boom. This time Ivy realized the truth. The sound wasn't coming from her chest. It was coming from the wolf. The giant creature blinked slowly. Then a voice entered her mind. A feminine voice. Powerful and ancient. Familiar. At last. Ivy's knees nearly gave out. The wolf's eyes softened. I have waited a very long time for you, Ivy. Her throat went dry. You. The wolf nodded. Yes. The giant creature stepped forward. Moonlight danced across her silver coat. I am your wolf. The words shattered 20 years of doubt. 20 years of wondering what was wrong with her. 20 years of believing she was broken. She wasn't broken. She had never been broken. Her wolf had been there the entire time. Waiting. Sleeping. Tears once again filled her eyes. The wolf's amusement brushed against her thoughts. You cry often. I've had an emotional few days, okay? To her surprise, the giant wolf actually laughed. A deep rumbling sound. The first hint of warmth Ivy had felt from the creature. Lyra smiled nearby, watching them both. Watching wolf and human. Finally together. The giant wolf lowered herself slightly. Do you know my name? Ivy frowned. The answer should have been no. Yet a strange certainty settled inside her mind. A memory she had never lived, but a truth she had somehow always known. The name slipped from her lips. Lenara. The giant wolf's eyes sparkled, then softened. Yes, a pulse of pride flowed through their connection, stronger than anything Ivy had ever felt. For the first time in her life, she felt complete. Human and wolf. Together. Whole. Lunara turned toward the silver horizon. The endless mist began swirling violently and the realm trembled as power gathered everywhere. Then Lyra's expression changed. The smile remained, but sadness appeared beneath it. A goodbye was coming, Ivy could feel it, and she immediately felt panic. No, please don't leave. I need you. Her mother stepped closer. My little moon. The word came out broken. Please don't leave. Lyra gently touched her forehead the same way a mother might comfort a frightened child. You don't need me anymore. The statement hurt, because part of Ivy still did. Very much. Lyra smiled through her own tears. You have your wolf now. She glanced toward Lenara. You have your people. The queen's voice softened. And your home. The silver realm began breaking apart. Light spread everywhere as reality was calling her back. Lyra pulled her into one final embrace. One final hug. One final moment. Then she whispered 4 words into Ivy's ear. Words that would change everything. Remember who you are. Then, without warning, the world exploded into silver light. And somewhere far away, back in the waking world, a scream of power erupted from Ivy's lips. The transformation had begun. Silver light exploded across the clearing. The force of it knocked dozens of wolves backward. Warriors stumbled and elders threw up their arms to shield their eyes. Several of the glowing crystals surrounding the ritual grounds shattered instantly. Cracks spread across the stone platform beneath Ivy's feet. The ancient runes blazed brighter than anyone had ever seen, and for a moment, the entire valley looked as though a second moon had risen from the earth itself. Then came the scream. It tore from Ivy's throat. Raw and powerful. Primal. The sound echoed across the mountains. Birds erupted from distant trees, and the forest itself seemed to tremble. Orion immediately stepped forward. Not to stop her. To protect everyone else. Because even he wasn't entirely certain what was about to happen. Neither was Celine. Neither were the elders. They had waited 20 years for Ivy's return. But none of them had witnessed the awakening of a silver wolf queen. The last had happened 1,000 years ago. And history rarely bothered leaving useful instructions behind. The light intensified as the air crackled with energy. Silver lightning danced across the platform. The runes burned so brightly they became impossible to look at directly. At the center of it all stood Ivy. Her body shook violently. The pressure inside her chest had reached its breaking point. Lunara's presence filled every corner of her mind. Not overwhelming. Not controlling. Connected. For the first time, human and wolf stood together. As one. Do not fear it. Become it. Lunara's voice echoed through her thoughts. Pain exploded through Ivy's body. Her knees buckled. A second scream tore free. Bones shifted. Muscles tightened. Energy surged through every nerve. The transformation had begun. And unlike ordinary wolves, there was nothing gentle about it. Nothing controlled. Nothing familiar. The silver light surrounding her erupted outward once more, and the shockwave blasted across the training grounds. Trees bent. Dust spiraled. Several warriors instinctively dropped into defensive stances. Not because they wanted to fight. Because instinct demanded respect in the presence of overwhelming power. The mountain itself seemed to hold its breath. Waiting. Watching. Then everything stopped. Silence. Complete silence. The light vanished. The dust settled. The clearing grew still. Hundreds of wolves stared toward the center of the platform. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. Because standing there was no longer Ivy, but a wolf stood upon the stone. Massive, beautiful, terrifying. Silver white first shimmered beneath the morning sun. Ancient markings glowed across her body. The same markings that had briefly appeared on Ivy's skin. Now they blazed like liquid moonlight. Her silver eyes reflected impossible power. She stood nearly twice the size of an ordinary alpha wolf. Larger than Orion, much larger. The sight stunned the entire valley. A collective gasp swept through the crowd. One elder actually dropped his walking staff. Several warriors stared in open disbelief. Celine covered her mouth. Tears immediately filled her eyes. Incredible. The word escaped as barely a whisper. Not because she was afraid, because she was overwhelmed. The wolf before her looked exactly like the stories. Exactly like the ancient paintings. Exactly like the legends. The giant silver wolf standing upon the platform slowly lifted her head. Her gaze swept across the gathering. Wisdom, strength, power. Something ancient lingered within those glowing eyes. Something that hadn't been seen in centuries. Orion stepped forward slowly, and for the first time since Ivy had met him, the ancient guardian bowed. A deep bow. A respectful bow. A bow given only to royalty. Every wolf in the valley immediately followed. Hundreds of silver wolves lowering their heads together. The sight would have stolen Ivy's breath away. What happened? Her voice echoed inside her own mind. Lunara's laughter rumbled warmly. You shifted. What? This is impossible. Ivy carefully looked down at herself. Apparently not. Huge silver paws rested upon the platform. Moonlit markings glowed beneath her fur. Every sound seemed louder. Every sense stronger. Every heartbeat clearer. The entire world had changed. Everything felt right. The emptiness she had carried for 20 years was gone. Completely gone. She felt whole. The realization nearly brought tears to her eyes again. Though crying while transformed into a giant legendary wolf felt somewhat less dramatic. Still embarrassing, but less dramatic. A sudden movement caught her attention. One of the younger warriors had stepped closer. The man's eyes were wide with awe. She's beautiful. The words escaped before he realized he'd spoken aloud. Several wolves immediately nodded. Others looked equally stunned. Because beauty wasn't the most shocking thing. Power was. The energy radiating from Ivy could be felt across the valley. Ancient. Royal. Overwhelming. Even experienced warriors struggled to stand comfortably beneath it. Celine slowly approached. Carefully. Respectfully. Can you understand me? Ivy tilted her enormous head, then nodded. The elder laughed through her tears. Of course you can. Relief spread across the gathering. Then, something unexpected happened. A sharp pain shot through Ivy's skull and she winced. Lunara immediately became alert. Someone is watching. The warning hit like ice water. Ivy froze. Watching? What do you mean? Lunara's voice darkened. It's far away, very far away. But someone felt our awakening. The joy inside Ivy immediately faded. Around her in the valley, wolves continued celebrating. They hadn't noticed. They couldn't feel what Lunara felt. But Ivy could. A strange pressure lingered at the edge of her senses. Distant. Cold. Dangerous. Like unseen eyes staring across impossible distances. The sensation vanished as quickly as it arrived. Yet the unease remained. Lenara fell silent, listening, thinking, watching. "What is it?" Ivy asked. Her wolf's response came slowly. "The people who destroyed your family. They're still out there." A chill spread through Ivy's enormous body. The world suddenly felt much colder, much smaller. Far beyond the hidden valley, far beyond the mountains, far beyond the safety of the forest, someone had felt the awakening of the Silver Wolf Queen, and somewhere in the world, an old enemy had just learned that the bloodline they failed to destroy was alive. Around her, the celebration continued. The valley rejoiced. But Ivy stood silently upon the platform, because deep inside her heart, she knew this wasn't the end of her story. It was only the beginning. And now, for the first time, the hunters knew their prey had survived. Holy smokes, that must have been something to experience, the awakening of a Silver Wolf Queen. After 20 years of believing she was broken, Ivy has finally met the wolf that slept within her all along. Not only has she shifted for the first time, she has awakened as something the world has not seen for 1,000 years. The Silver Wolf Queen has returned. Somewhere beyond the forest, old enemies have felt her awakening. Enemies who once brought down an empire and believed the Silver Wolf bloodline was gone forever. I wonder who that will be, maybe a stranger. But what if it's someone that she knows? Before you go, let me know where you're listening from. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel and which corners of the world are joining us for the adventure. And if you're enjoying the Silver Wolf Queen, please do me a huge favor and subscribe. Every subscriber helps us move closer to our next community milestone and keep stories like this coming. Until next time, be blessed and stay safe out there.